You are listening to the Cookbook Love Podcast with Maggie Green, episode number 295.
Welcome to the Cookbook Love Podcast, a podcast that celebrates cookbook readers, buyers, collectors, writers, and clubs. And now your host, cookbook author, culinary dietitian, and cookbook writing coach, Maggie Green.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. How's everybody doing today? As always, very excited to be here. Had a great weekend last weekend. Went to Columbus to see Bruce Springsteen with 3 of my 6 sisters, and we had a good time. We've been following Bruce for a long time, and whenever he is in concert in a city near where one of us live, we try to gather together and go to the concert. So it was a lot of fun, beautiful weather, driving up and driving back from Columbus and spending time with my sisters in the arena and watching Bruce perform. You know, it's amazing to me how people all over the world know the words to a lot of his songs. And I think that's fascinating to think that he's a songwriter and wrote these songs, and now people all over the world, like literally, can sing the song from beginning to end without him even helping them. I mean, he just holds the microphone out and the whole arena sings. So a lot of fun, a lot of participation. He's got good energy. 74 years old. The E Street Band has lost a few members, but has been replaced with younger members and other members that have joined the band, and just a lot of fun to watch. So highly recommend seeing him in concert. If you haven't had a chance to see him, he is on tour this summer over in Europe, and I believe returns this fall for closing out the year of 2024. And if all goes well, we have tickets also to see him in Baltimore in September. So I'll have to keep you posted about that. So I've returned from my trip to the grocery, have my groceries stocked for the week, took a walk, and now I'm here to talk to you about cookbook publishing. And I want to share with you some doubts that I hear that people talk about when they think about not only writing a cookbook, but getting it published. And the same doubts kind of come up over and over again. A few years ago, I did a cookbook obstacle, like roadblock series, like things that people think. So that's a great series of shows to go back and listen to. But in this episode, I'm going to go through 7 of the most common doubts, because it's often just a sentence in our mind that is holding us back from publishing. And I want to help you turn these doubts around so that you can take steps toward getting your first cookbook published, or maybe changing the publishing path if that's what you want to look into. Before we start going over the doubts, I do want you to know that I am hosting a master class on cookbook publishing, all about securing agents and publishers. I know there are many of you who are interested in pursuing the traditional route of cookbook publishing, and that's what I'm going to be teaching all about in my upcoming free webinar on Wednesday, May the 8th, called Master Cookbook Publishing, Secure Your Dream Agent or Publisher. In this class, I'm going to talk all about the 5 main steps in the cookbook publishing process, 4 qualities of cookbook writers that agents and publishers love, as well as 3 myths about the cost of writing a cookbook. So if you want to register, there's a link in the show notes, or you can head on over to www.cookbookwritersacademy.com/free and get in line and on the email list for that free training. Can't wait to teach it, getting very excited to teach it. And I'm going to have a really amazing bonus to people who show up live at the training. It will not be available unless you come live. So I hope I've enticed you to register and come to the training. You know, and even if you are thinking about self-publishing, I think that as much as you can hear about publishing, talk about cookbook publishing, get your questions answered about publishing, you will learn a lot about the process, because the process and the journey is the same regardless of the path that you take. The book has to be written and created, and there's just different ways that can happen. So I want to help you all understand that and get you all on the path so that we can get more cookbooks published in the world. Okay, so let's go through the 7 doubts about cookbook publishing that might be holding you back. And let's start with doubt number 1. I'm not good at layout or photography. This would have been me back before I wrote my first cookbook, and one of the main reasons that I really was never particularly attracted to having a food blog. And one of the reasons that I'm actually probably doing more podcasting than blogging, it's not that I don't like to write, but the visual aspects of creating a blog never appealed to me. I wasn't particularly interested in learning about food photography. Didn't want to do any photo editing. And when I realized that I could write cookbooks and partner with a publisher that was going to help me do all the layout, all the design, hire the photographer, and I didn't have to be responsible for creating the beautiful book, I was all in. So the turnaround to that is you do not have to be good at layout or photography to write a beautiful cookbook. Writers write the book. Publishers publish the book, and the publishers will find people to do the layout and the design and the photography. And if you have some opinions about your design features that you'd enjoy, or maybe someone who you think would be good at doing the photos, most publishers are open to that. So it's a conversation that you would have with your publishing partner, but do not let the fact that you don't want to do it stand in your way. Okay, doubt number 2, it's not the right time. I totally get this. There's never a perfect time to pursue writing a book. The skies aren't just going to open up and a lightning bolt come down and say, Maggie, this is the right time to write your next book or to write your first book. It's a decision to start, and it's a decision to invest time in a finite project. It's going to create a tangible product that you're going to have to sell. But it's never going to be the perfect time or the right time. I have written books mostly in the midst of raising my children from the ages of 9 all the way up to 16. And I thought that gave me actually a lot of material to talk about and mouths in the house to feed when I was testing and developing recipes. So if you have children or young adults in the house, why not take advantage of that time to develop and test recipes and use the food that you prepare to feed them? They're going to get exposed to a lot of new and interesting things, and I promise they won't go hungry if something doesn't appeal to them. I think now is the perfect time to start on a project that I really want to do. And when we sit around thinking about all the things we want to do, but we delay them, we procrastinate maybe because it feels overwhelming, we never really get any of these big projects done. So I think now is the perfect time to start. Doesn't matter whether it's spring, summer, winter, fall, how old your children are. Let's dive in and work on writing and creating this cookbook. This next one, doubt number 3, kind of ties in with that. A lot of people will say they're too busy with their kids. But I want you to think about something. If you're busy right now with your kids, but you're still someone who manages to get a meal on the table or pack lunches or feed them a healthy breakfast or do some cooking on the weekend, you get your meal prep and your shopping done. There's a lot of people out there with kids that would love to know your process and how you do all that. So if you're busy with kids, the book to write right now is the book about how I get meals on the table when I'm busy with my kids and all the things that you do to have success with that. So being busy with kids is actually a great reason to write books because there are moms and dads all over the world that want your help with this. And what better time to help them than when you are in the middle of it and you can share your processes, you can share your tips from real life experience. It's the perfect time to write a book if you're busy with kids. Doubt number 4 is my book and my full book isn't written yet. I can't get it published. Okay, so the truth of the matter is that cookbook publishers and nonfiction publishers do not want to see your whole manuscript. The only thing they want from you is a cookbook proposal. That is like a business plan for your book. It's a tool that you use to communicate to the publisher what your book is about, who you are, and about how you're willing to help them sell and promote the book. They don't want the full book. This is different than writing fiction. If you are writing fiction, publishers are buying the story. But if you're writing a cookbook or other works of nonfiction, publishers are buying the idea and they're buying you. So please do not waste time writing your whole book. Let's focus on writing the cookbook proposal. Doubt number 5, I can't trust publishers. I don't want to get scammed. Okay, I hear you on this one. There are publishers that are scammy. They're not above the board. But there are a lot of publishers that you even might pay to publish your book that create beautiful books and are definitely not scams. And I think the secret to learning about publishers that aren't scams is to talk to people who maybe use that publisher, work with a book coach who can help you vet publishers, work with an agent who will actually lead you to publishers that are not scammy, and remember that there are a ton of publishers out there that are already publishing cookbooks, and all you have to do is go to the cookbook section of a bookstore and look at all the different publishers on the spine of the book and get their name, look in the acknowledgments and see if the writer had an agent for that publisher. And chances are, if they're being distributed in a bookstore, they are not a publisher that is a scam. There are publishers that I would never probably work with, and I can hear you on that, but there are a ton of publishers out there that publish beautiful cookbooks that are not a scam. So let's look for the ones that aren't, and look at the books that are already published and talk to the authors of these books. Maybe follow them on social media. They're always open to you, maybe interacting with them on social media, asking them questions. We all like to see everybody succeed if we've written cookbooks. So let's all keep our eyes open for the publishers that are definitely not scams. Doubt number 6 is a lot of people think that there's already too many cookbooks written. Aren't there enough cookbooks? And I think this is really just an internal mindset issue. I personally think there is never enough cookbooks. Not that I don't have to buy all of them, but I always think it's interesting to see someone's unique point of view when they want to write a cookbook. The day that there's too many historical fiction novels, or the day that there's too many business books, I'll also believe there's too many cookbooks. But there are always new people entering the market. There's new trends and twists on food. There's new approaches and new takes, new combinations, new stories to tell. So I personally believe there are not too many cookbooks, and I would not let that hold me back, and I do not want you to let that hold you back either. And then the final doubt, number 7, is cookbook writing is too expensive. And I've covered this conversation in a lot of different ways on the podcast, but when I wrote my first cookbook, the only expense that I had directly, other than buying the food to develop and prepare the recipes, was to pay for the index. And my second, third, and fourth book, I negotiated the publisher to do the index, or for them to hire someone to do the index. So the index cost about $800 in my first book. The layout, the design, the editing, the printing and distribution of the book, the publisher took care of that for all of my books. I think that you're going to spend money on food and cooking anyway. You're already spending money on ingredients and shopping, maybe even on going out to eat. I don't know that writing a cookbook is more expensive than what we might already spend on our food anyway. And if you're wanting to save money and not spend a lot of money on food expenses when you're developing recipes, how about you write a book about how to save money at the grocery store, or write something that people can relate to related to food inflation and budgeting, and then that would help you to save expenses while you're working on the book as well. Cookbook publishing, unless you go custom publishing or perhaps some types of hybrid publishing, traditional publishing is not expensive. the way that you pay the publisher is through the royalties that they earn off of the book that you have written. And self-publishing, like on Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing, also, you don't have to pay for a large print run. It is print on demand. You do have the expense of having someone perhaps edit or lay out your book if that's what you want. But inside Cookbooks on KDP, the program I work with people on a small family-style cookbook is not expensive to produce. So please, let's get that out of our head and not let us stop our projects from that doubt as well. Okay, so those are the 7 doubts. I'm not good at layout or photography. It's not the right time. I'm too busy with my kids. I don't have my whole book written yet. I can't trust publishers because I might get scammed. There are too many cookbooks out there and it's too expensive. All of those doubts are holding us back. And if you have any of them, please, please, please come to the free training I have on Wednesday, May the 8th, Master Cookbook Publishing, How to Secure Your Dream Agent or Publisher. There's going to be question and answer time. I'm happy to help you work through the doubts that you have because, again, I believe this is a good time for you to not only start, but write your cookbook and get it published. The link to join the masterclass is www.cookbookwritersacademy.com/free. And I'd love to have you register and see you there. So that is it for today's episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. This is your host, Maggie Green. And until next time, have a great day and keep loving your cookbooks.
Thanks for listening to the Cookbook Love Podcast. You can find out more information at www.cookbooklove.co.